Hey, welcome everybody to Tim's Final Confessions. I'm Tim Derling, and we've got almost the whole regular crew assembled here. We've got Will and Matt and myself, and Matt's got his Tim's Final Confessions hoodie on. I got a T-shirt here from T Public,
Nice.
the logo on it, and just a reminder, everybody, tpublic.com. You can look us up on there. Look up TBC. The links in my bio and all my socials, and get yourself some merch. Not just clothing. We've got coffee mugs, we've got travel mugs, we've got stickers, we've got notebooks. We even have throw pillows. Not even kidding. I thought Matt was kidding when he first said, "Yeah, we'll make a throw pillow out of this one." I'm like, sure. And then sure enough, throw pillows. So hey, it's all good.
I'll be ordering.
We've got tank tops. What were you saying, Matt?
I'm going to order one of those guaranteed. One of those pillows for sure.
Everybody needs a TVC throw pillow. They just don't know it. So guys, what we are here for. I mean, it's one of the only long established heavy rock acts that there's still a lot of buzz when they put a new album out, and we're here for it. Of course, we're talking about Metallica and their brand new album. Hasn't been out very long, 72 seasons. If you follow us, you've seen it 100 times. Can't miss the cover. It's practically stabbing you in the eyeballs. Bright yellow. This is the vinyl copy. It's just as yellow can be. Of course, on their own label, Blackened Recordings. And I'm just going to say, I guess we can talk about the packaging first of all. Matt, what are your thoughts on all of the packaging, the colors, the way that the CD is laid out? Let's hear it.
Yeah, I love the packaging. I loved it even more when I thought it was part of an actual concept. So we just saw this really eye-catching image, and then just so there's no Metallica written across the top of it. But I thought it was going to be part of a greater concept. Hasn't really turned out that way, but for the packaging itself, I really actually quite like it. Now, I know some people have complained about it. It's a little cumbersome. If you're in your car and you're driving along and you're trying to get this all together, how does this thing fold out? So I was showing Tim the other way to get it back together is just do it in reverse order of basically when the band members join. So if you've already opened it, fold it back in with Rob, then Kirk, then Lars, and then James. I mean, it's technically, I guess, Lars's band, but that's how you get it back together.
It is cumbersome. There's no question about it. Although I gotta say, this is the booklet too. Some more imagery on here. I'll keep that booklet handy, maybe.
Yep.
It's not as cumbersome as for me. When I first bought Death Magnetic, when it came out, I bought the digipack version, and it always falls apart when I open it.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Always. That thing just kind of, so this one, you have to work at it a little bit. Another thing that, it took me a while to realize this says 72.
Okay.
And I really think this little piece here should have been filled in yellow.
Yeah, it's just that style of font. They wanted to keep the line of the 7 and the 2 kind of, they should have put that part in, left it in.
And for me, when I first got it, I saved the hype sticker on it, and I looked at it and I thought, now I was a little bit crooked when I put it on, but it fits perfectly into the crib.
Cool.
So that's what I did with it. I kind of, between the M and Metallica, I kind of sunk it down in like that. So
right on.
Yeah. So there you go. Not a lot of, as usual, not a lot of text. I mean, this is the same hype sticker. Now, another thing I do, but at least the vinyl, you can flip it over and read the song titles.
Yes, exactly.
This thing is, it's, Metallica always wants to do it differently, do things differently, which is, that's how they do it. So, Will, I know you've got some, it's not like Will to never have any opinions. What do you think about the packaging, the album cover, all of that?
So I don't actually own it, so that's the first time I've seen inside.
That's how much he likes it, guys.
I do plan to get it. I just haven't been anywhere to get it. But to me, the yellow is just too bright. Like Metallica's used colors before, like Ride the Lightning's blue, but it's darker blue. Puppets is like darker orange. So they've used color, but the fact that it's so bright, like Tim mentioned earlier, that like sure they want people to see it on the shelf and like for it to stand out, but it's Metallica. Everybody that was gonna buy the album knew it was coming out when the first single dropped. You don't need to have it flying off the shelf. So to me, the yellow's a blot, but I'll have to get it and tear apart the inside a little bit more after that.
So that's their graphic design company, Turner Duckworth. They've worked with them for quite a long time. I would say they're kind of pushing Metallica to try new stuff. When you've seen them take that M shape of their logo and kind of alter it into different things on their packaging, and with the yellow, I think that's really coming from Turner Duckworth. So
I don't know, but to me, Metallica trying new stuff is like if AC/DC started playing guitar different. Like,
oh,
why?
okay.
Why even bother at this point? But
I
the packaging's
did
minor compared to the music. It really doesn't make that much of a difference, but it's just so bright.
I did see a funny mock-up where someone took the cover. I don't have it here, but they took the cover and then they added an IKEA logo and just like a little text and IKEA-ish.
That's just Best Buy. Isn't Best Buy yellow?
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing is that, oh wow, I literally just noticed there's like a chopped log in here in the crib.
Yeah.
And my joke was I was joking around with my kids, like, so you guys remember sitting and waiting in the doctor's office looking at those I Spy books? That's what this reminds me of. It's like, find the sunglasses, find the the teddy bear, find the headphones. Like that's what it makes me think of. And maybe Will's onto something. A Metallica album shouldn't make me think of I Spy books, but it's a very dark version of an I Spy book for sure. And that kind of I guess falls in line with the overall concept of the album. For those people that don't know, it's called 72 Seasons because that translates into 18 years, like the first 18 years of your life, and how I don't know how your life is sort of molded then. And
Hey, a little bit
to
of
be honest, the concept gets a little bit lost.
Yeah, just a little bit before we start talking about the actual content, a little bit of homework for people that are watching, for anyone that has the album. So of course they've got all these burned images like the tricycle and the bat and that sort of thing. Something I'm trying to figure out, Tim, if you've got your CD package there, the very page where you've got, this is like a stack of vinyl records and they're all kind of melted. And then there's like a, so if you flip it over, that's an actual, like, there's some kind of identifiable record right at the very bottom. It's red. And I'm trying to figure out if anyone can figure out what that record actually is. You put it upside down, this part right here. Anyway, I was just kind of curious, like, what is that? Because I can see like some symbols, and anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny. So if anyone has any idea what it is, I'm assuming they just took maybe they took some of their records that inspired them and put them all in a bundle and melted them, which would kind of be a shame actually, but
they could be like test pressings that were rejected or something, or mistakes, or I don't know. But it's a lot of the individual items show up in the booklet too. And the album, like their last few, was produced by Greg Feidelman or Fiedelman, however you pronounce that. Therefore, I think it sounds very much like their last few. And maybe it is about time we delve into the contents of 72 Seasons. I'm really curious about both of my co-hosts' opinions here. Will, start us off. Give us what you like, what you don't like about 72 Seasons.
Well, when I guess Lux Eterna, or however you say it, when that first came out, I was excited. I was excited for new Metallica music because of what I have coming up this year. But I didn't love it right away. Like it kind of has the thrashy sound, which is fine. But that's not my favorite version of Metallica. But then the following two singles came out, I think Screaming Suicide and If Darkness Had a Sun. I loved both of those a lot and listened to them a ton. I listened to Lux Eterna even less. I just didn't care about it. And then I didn't listen to 72 Seasons when it came out as a single. But when the album came out and I listened through it, I actually liked it right away. It sounds similar to the Hardwired sound, the Death Magnetic sound, like the newer, revamped Metallica sound that the last three albums have used. And I like a ton of the songs.
It actually took me quite a few listens to get into too, Will. It's the first one that kind of bored me a little bit. Did you want to say more about the album overall?
I don't know what the plan was for getting into stuff. I could go further.
Yeah, go
I
for
figured.
it. Well, then we'll switch over to Matt.
Okay. But yeah, I didn't get bored. That's for sure. I liked it. If we're comparing a little bit, I liked it more than Hardwired,
Interesting.
and I liked it more than Hardwired after the first listen. Like Shadows Follow is excellent. Um, uh, it's just that newer sound. I know I always say I like Death Magnetic, so to me it sounds similar sounding. I think there's more thrash. Like 72 Seasons uses a bit of the thrash. Room of Mirrors, I find, is more on the thrash side, but the newer sound, to me, I really enjoyed the album.
All right. Let me just put this out there. I don't know if you guys have thought about this yet, but if you were to look at the last three albums, so 72 Seasons, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, Death Magnetic, if you're going to rank those, which one was your favorite? I think I know Will's already. You already just said Death Magnetic, right?
Yeah, so Death Magnetic is my favorite Metallica album out of all of them.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it's pretty hard to beat, and that's why I say I like this newer Metallica sound. So to me, this sounds similar to Death Magnetic, so I liked it. So for me, it'd be Death Magnetic, probably by far, and then 72 Seasons, and then
Oh,
Hardwired.
how about you, Tim?
Wow. This one's so new that it's really hard to. It almost seems unfair to rank it, but Will could do it, so why not? I think probably Death Magnetic is my favorite of the three of them, just because I've lived with it the longest.
Okay,
But
yep.
I did like Hardwired, but you know what? I think I'll move 72 Seasons ahead of Hardwired simply for the fact that even though mathematically, as we've learned, all three of those albums are within seconds of each other in terms of duration.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
I don't know if it's because they split it onto two discs, but Hardwired just seems longer to me. And I found the first couple times I went through 72 Seasons that I went through it quite quickly. And like the first time I listened to it, I was like, oh, it's done. So I started it again. And whereas Hardwired, I'm thinking, okay, this must be the last song, and there's 5 songs left. I don't know. But very similar in production. And I know some people say, refer to that as a drawback. I don't think it sounds like Death Magnetic. I think the last 2 albums sound better than Death Magnetic just in terms of production because they're clearer. But these songs sound like they could have come from Hardwired, or at
Okay.
least the Hardwired sessions to me. But yeah, I'd probably put it a little bit ahead of Hardwired, although I liked Hardwired. I mean, we did an extensive review episode when that came out, but yeah, that's how I think I'd rank the last 3.
Okay. I would put Hardwired as my number one. I actually there's more songs that I like on Hardwired better than anything on all 3 of the albums. So, Now That We're Dead, Moth into Flame, the catchier stuff, I will admit that, but Spit Out the Bone's fantastic. But we're not here to talk about that album. But yeah, I would say Hardwired and then Death Magnetic and then 72 Seasons. But it's not like a huge gap talking about. So
I just think for me, the second half of Hardwired falls off so hard compared to the first half that 72 Seasons is just more consistent.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it kicks off with Spit Out the Bone, and then there is that kind of where it falls off a little bit. So
Yeah, it sounds like confusion, and they're not bad. It's just, and there is a sameness, and there's a sameness to this album too. There's no question about it. That's one of the criticisms I've heard. There's definitely a sameness to it, but you know, it's like people talk about AC/DC. You know, they have one sound, but I happen to like that sound. Is it? I mean, Metallica is the only band of this genre of metal that I like. You know, if you look through my collection, but it's not like I go to them all the time. So usually when there's a new album out, there's a buzz going on. So I'll listen to the new album. I'll dig out a few other ones and listen to those. But you know, I've I've get sections of different songs on here stuck in my head. Um, I was really excited when Lux Eterna came out because the one thing I noticed then and listening to the whole album is the same thing. James Hetfield sounds fantastic on this album. His vocals are really, really good. I know it's the studio, but I don't hear any effects. I just think he's singing really, really well. Will, you know, will a 2-year tour do him in? I don't know. But
I
you know,
hope not.
For his age, we'll get to that. For his age, I think he's singing might be his best full album performance. Like nothing to do with the songwriting or anything like that. I just think vocally he's just hit upon something and just sings really well. I think he's stretching his vocal range a little bit, you know, like the held note on Lex Eterna. It's not something you'd expect from a 60-some-year-old guy to be doing on a new album. So, you know, kudos for that. So Matt, let's flip it over to you before we get too far into the songs.
all right, I did want to correct myself. I forgot that Spit Out the Bone doesn't kick off side 2. It's actually the last song.
The last song. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do kind of agree with you guys on that album. Has a bit of slow parts, but there's nothing on 72 Seasons so far that I like as much as you know, Now That We're Dead or Moth into Flame. So I was really hyped for this album because I actually thought they were going to do a concept album. Metallica doing a concept album, nice long album. They talked about the 72 seasons. So I thought they were going to maybe look at all aspects of someone's life from age 0 to 18 and talk about all different kinds of stuff. Maybe we'd get some positive songs on here, but it's all very, it's all like abuse and really negative kind of material. So I was a little disappointed with them not actually, you know, following through with a concept. So I may have misunderstood that too. But overall, so I really did like the album at first. I've listened to it about 6 or 7 times now. I'm not sure how much more I'm going to listen to it after this review is over. But Lux Eterna I still think is a fantastic song. There's a few others on here, parts that I really like. So, but this one kind of drags for me in parts. So I really wish they would have cut it down quite a bit. So
I feel like that about a lot of albums.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is that with Hardwired and with this album, really since 2016, we could have had 4 Metallica albums, all with different cover arts, all with different track listings. You know, I've often thought that about, you know, how fun would it have been if Led Zeppelin, instead of releasing Physical Graffiti as a double album, if they'd put an album out in 74 and 75, not changing anything, just one 7-song album, one 8-song album. But anyway, I think maybe what would have helped as far as concept goes, and I just thought of this, if they did what Rush did with Clockwork Angels and had like a little blurb in the lyrics in between each song that say, here's our character going from here to here.
Yeah.
That you don't necessarily need, you know, you can listen to it and have a greater understanding of it. If there's a concept here, it's lost on me.
Yeah.
But I still, you know, tend to like the songs. Now, as far as one thing that they kind of overhyped that I was looking forward to hearing, and it didn't occur to me again until after I'd listened to the album 2 or 3 times. Wait a minute, I thought they said Rob Trujillo was going to sing a song on here, and then it's like, oh, background vocals on "You Must Burn." So I specifically went to that song, and
Yeah.
I still can't hear it. I mean, for all I know, it just could have been Hetfield doubling his vocal or harmonizing with himself in the studio. I was like, because I remember hearing that and thinking, well, that's interesting. I mean, poor Jason Newsted, who has a decent singing voice, I would have loved to have had a lead vocal on Metallica album. Let's talk about Jason at the end of this, after this too. Let me see. I mean, Lux Eterna, yeah, it's thrashy, but it's not. It's disciplined thrashy. I don't find it thrashy in the negative sense. It's just very focused, very fast. And I knew that when that song came out in the video, I knew we wouldn't get 12 songs of that. I knew we wouldn't get that. And I know what Matt's talking about, like parts of songs, like Sleepwalk My Life Away starts out with a really cool bass and drum part. But then it just kind of falls back into the Metallica groove that they've been into for the last few years. So I see what you mean, but I find I can play it through and there's nothing really on it that I don't like. Sometimes it takes a while to for the dust to settle and figure out what you like and what you really like about it. That's kind of the thing with doing review episodes. You don't want to wait too long to do a review episode, but at the same time, it's really tough to do that forced listening and really get a feel for what they're trying to say. I mean, I think like a lot of Metallica albums, some of the lyrics that maybe are particularly dark are cathartic in a way. There's one thing I kind of like is, now it's gone out of my head. I'm going to keep talking while I look up the lyrics. There is one thing that I noticed that was kind of interesting from James's point. Oh yeah, if darkness had a sun, he finally got a chance to use that germ of an idea, temptation, that he's kicking around since the Saint Anger, like some kind of monster days. He's finally, temptation, leave me be. I mean, he had a song written that was kind of less than a song, but so he must have revisited that. Now, this is an album. Another thing I've heard about it is that it's just every song is just chock full of riffs, almost too many riffs, too many parts. They could have taken maybe one song that's got 3 riffs and it made 3 really good songs out of it. But, I appreciate the fact they're challenging themselves, especially at this far along in the game. Number one, they're still making new music. A lot of bands have quit doing that. And then number 2, they got to try to, however many songs they do from this album live, they're going to have to learn these. They're going to have to rehearse these and get them, get them down for when they play them on stage. I understand the criticisms, but one thing that's kind of surprised me that I've read is that there are a lot of people I've read that they're just dismissive of this album instantly without even listening to it. It's just like I'm over Metallica. I'm not even going to listen to it. It's like, I don't know what it is that's inspiring. Like at this point in the game, we're 23 years removed from Napster, guys. Why the hate for Metallica? Like, for one, I'm always glad to hear that a veteran band is still producing new music. It's like, at least they're trying something. And Metallica's fan base is such, this album's going to debut at number 1. I don't know if it has yet or not. It'll certify platinum, which is unheard of. They're literally one of the only bands that you could still say that that's going to happen.
So far as recording this, we don't have the Billboard results domestically, but it went in at number 1 in the UK, and it also went in the ARIA charts in Australia. So just for example, that their first, you read the headline, is Metallica's first number 1 album in 15 years. Well, they've only put out 3 in 15 years, but this one went at number 1. Hardwired went in at number 2. I want to say maybe Taylor Swift or someone like that kept them out of number 1. Something I just randomly wanted to mention, though, when we're looking at Hardwired to Self-Destruct, on vinyl and so on CD, it's 2 CDs, whereas this one only counts as 1 unit on CD, but 2 on vinyl. So that also kind of skews the...
I have a real problem with that multi-disc thing. I was talking to Will about that the other night. I don't think that a multi-disc set should count as 2 sales. And here's why. You can't buy them separately.
No.
So it's one product. And yeah, now that they've done this, it makes me wonder even more why they put Hardwired on 2 CDs. Like, even the regular version of Hardwired that doesn't have all the live stuff and the bonus stuff on it, um, the 12 songs, the 12 new songs are still on 2 discs, and they don't need to be. And they didn't do it here. So, maybe it's so what I'm saying is if they get a platinum record out of this, they've legitimately got a platinum record. It's like, yeah, they went platinum with Hardwired. Well, they went gold.
Yeah.
Really. So,
Yeah.
but they're kind of above. They're really they've reached that stage which every band wishes they could get to, because they're kind of above all that. Their fan base is so huge all over the world, and since for their last few releases, they own their music. They own their own pressing plant. They're not. There's no middleman anymore. There's no distributor, and they're big enough that they can cut through and get their albums into the chain stores of the world, where it is available. And again, with the bright yellow color, you could get someone that hasn't bought an album maybe since the Black Album, but they're picking up some, loaf of bread or something, and there's the end cap that you can't miss, and it's reasonably priced. They go, oh yeah, I've listened to Metallica in a long time. You might get an impulse buy out of it. That might be another reason why they're doing that.
And don't forget about all the people that kind of came on board with Metallica through Stranger Things, hearing Master of Puppets.
Absolutely, yeah. This is the first. That's right. This is the first album to come out post that.
Yeah. I know we're not really talking track by track here, but there are where some of it I found similar. I did have a few, I guess I would call them landmark parts of certain songs. I don't know if there's any other stuff you wanted to say about individual songs, but there are a few bits that really kind of stood out to me with the individual songs.
There's one more thing I wanted to bring up, and it's about a song, but it really has nothing to do with the song itself. Matt and I both had the same issue ripping the CD to our computer. Is that the last song, Immorata? Am I saying that right? We had to rip it 2 or 3 times because it skipped, and it's like, that's stupid. This is a brand new CD. Why is it skipped? So it took 2 or 3 times to get that one to rip correctly. If anybody out there's had the same issue, I'd be curious, because Matt and I both had the same issue with the same track.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it maybe has to do with the CD being full of stuff that it kind of messes with the memory of the computer. But yeah, it's I made sure I didn't have any other programs running too, and so I had to go back and rip it a few times.
Yeah.
I have a couple smaller points to make, I guess. If Darkness Had a Sun, this is kind of a stretch, but the intro where it's just the bass or the kick drum, and then more of the drums and the guitar comes in. Yeah, it's like a similar intro make of Wolf and Man, which every time it comes on, I
was
hear
thinking
it
of Justice for All.
Really?
Is that the one? No, there's one of them is like that, and I expected it to go.
Yeah, so like it's not exact, but like the makeup of how they wrote it sounds like a Wolf and Man to me. And every time it comes on, I think that's what's gonna turn on. But
you like that?
And then another very nitpicky thing: Shadows Follow. Like for me to sing along with that, I feel like it should be Shadow Follows.
Okay.
Like sang the exact same, but the Shadows Follow sounds so odd to me to try and sing along with. But that's an extremely
the Shadow Follow sounds more awkward to me, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Every time I want to sing it the wrong way. And then in terms of like the album being very similar the whole way through, I find You Must Burn, like the chorus of that, is a great change of pace. But it's really the only spot on the album where they have that change of pace. And speaking of You Must Burn, I hate punctuation in song titles.
Yeah.
They put an exclamation mark and a question mark on this. They did the same thing on Hardwired, and I just don't like
dot and Justice for All. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't. That's not as bad, but I just don't like it because if they don't sing it like there's an exclamation point.
Yeah, it's You Must Burn. You must burn!
Yeah. Right, like it's, I don't know. That's a nitpicky thing, but you know me, I have to find something I don't like.
I did remember, like when I was talking about James's vocal performance, I really like. Is it Chasing Light, where he does the "Lean on Me"? Like just a sec. People love it when we sing on these shows, so we really should have warmed up before we we came on here, but the I think it's Chasing Light. Just
It
yeah, it
is.
is. Chase that light, lean on me. Like he sings really high there. That's all. That's all the
I,
singing I'm gonna do, guys. I'm sorry.
my note for that song, actually, I thought it the first minute and 15 seconds of that Chasing Light track 8 really had me because it sounds like an it's like an Injustice for All kind of stomp at the beginning of the song. And then I don't know, maybe this is just my ears, but I found a bunch of these songs where they kind of fit into that groove once the song gets going. A lot of these could have been on Load Reload to me, the grooves on these songs. So
Okay.
I have that written down for You Must Burn. I have that written down for Sleepwalk. I have that written down for a bunch of these songs. There's not a lot of actual thrash, and I mean that's okay. If like Too Far Gone, I would say is probably has the only real thrashy other than Lux Eterna. Track 10, Too Far Gone, is one of the only real thrashy at the end of the chorus on this album. So
And when I said like the thrashy parts, I'm not talking like the kill 'em all thrash, but you can definitely tell that they're influenced in some way by the thrash sound still.
yeah.
But it's clearly not a thrash album where the song's not full thrash, if that was misunderstood.
Another I think sort of positive about this album is that, with the exception of that last track that I already mentioned, they're not really long songs.
Yeah.
They aren't 8-9 minute songs. So I find that makes it a little bit more palatable. But I myself, I don't really have much problem with it. And I know people, the criticism are, oh, they're playing it safe, and it's just, I don't know. To me, it's Metallica sounding like Metallica. There's really nothing more to it than that. I think that for some people, they're just over the band and they've just made up their minds. They're not even going to bother with it. So I would say the album is at least worth bothering with. It's not like you're going to have a hard time finding it. It's not one that you're going to have to special order, unless you want something I ordered but hasn't come as of filming this, the cassette. It hasn't come yet in the mail. I did order it on cassette, but anyway, I don't know. Is there anything more that you guys want to add to the album? Because there is a couple more things I think we should talk about in the Metallica world.
Go ahead, Will.
Not really as far as the album goes. I will say I've probably listened to this already more than I've listened to Hardwired.
Wow.
I just if I could take the first disc of Hardwired and buy it individually, maybe. But Hardwired as a whole, I find this a significant amount better for me to get through. And with Tim, like Hardwired seems so long and it's 28 seconds shorter. So I can definitely see myself having, in terms of my Metallica rotation, this will be quite high with Death Magnetic probably.
Wow.
I'd be curious to see by year's end if we do. Yeah, I think we will do a year end wrap up because there's a lot of fantastic stuff coming out where it sits. Keep that in mind, guys.
For sure.
Yeah. So Matt, I think of the three of us, you're the least into this. So
yeah, and again, I'm not a Metallica hater or anything. I just find a lot of it fairly samey. Like for example, the very last track, Inamorata. So it's the longest song they've ever done. It's like over 11 minutes long, but it actually has one of my favorite parts in the entire album. Just after 5 minutes after the solo, it just cuts down to this little. Robert gets a little bass solo, and you just hear some cymbal. Yeah, okay, I'm really digging this. Kind of even sounds a little Iron Maiden-y. But like I would literally cut that song in half. A lot of people are comparing it to Unforgiven. I don't really hear that at all. I would have taken an actual concept album of 40-45 minutes than this kind of behemoth, but I'm happy they put it out. Alec is still really vital. If you've seen them on Jimmy Kimmel lately, so they've been doing the media stuff, and they did like a 4-day residency at Jimmy Kimmel, and they still sound fantastic live.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna go.
Brings up our next point. Will, what do you got coming up?
Well, first is Metallica is doing that. They're playing cities like every Friday and Sunday, the same city for the next year and a half or 2 years. So they'll play the first night on Friday. I think it's Wolfgang Van Halen, Pantera, and then Metallica does a full set. And then Sunday, it's Ice Nine Kills, who sucks, Five Finger Death Punch, and then Metallica does another full set, but they're doing no repeat songs. So it's two completely different shows. They're coming to Montreal to play the Olympic Stadium, and I will be there. I think it's August 11th and 13th, I believe.
Nice.
So I'll be there for that, like 31 years later after the riots in the same stadium. Hopefully that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
And then in October, I'll be going to the Power Trip Festival in Indio, California. They play the third night with Tool. So I'll be seeing them 3 times this year. And I'll definitely hear repeats at that show, I'm sure.
Wow. That's awesome. I can't wait to hear how that turns out. I've never seen them live. Do you know, it'd be really funny, and it's possible now, like in the 10 years ago, this wouldn't even been possible, but it would have been really funny if they'd have gone back to Montreal with Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Anyway, the other thing that I'm really glad that to hear about is the fact that we talked about Jason Newsted earlier. I really liked his EP Metal and the full-length album Heavy Metal Music that he both those came out in 2013. Toured for a year, and he, as Jason does sometimes, he just kind of goes into hiding. Apparently he's resurrecting that.
Mhm.
And I couldn't be happier because I really liked both of those. To me, they scratched that old school Metallica itch. They came out at a time when it had been a while since there'd been any new Metallica music. I thought Jason sang really well within the context of the music, and I was looking forward to hearing more albums from him. So hopefully we'll get something new, more new from the band Newsted coming out.
Yeah, let's have it.
Yeah, more the merrier, man. So yeah, that's our 2 cents on Metallica 72 seasons in a store near you. And I can't say that about many new albums of the bands that we talk about on here, but you can probably go to Walmart and see this. You'll see it somewhere. You might not, you'll see it from quite far away, actually. So there you go. Everybody out there, if you've got the album, what do you think of it? Are there any tracks that are worth going back to and saying, no, you really got to listen to this for this? Is there a concept? Are you hearing a concept within these lyrics? Have you poured through the lyrics? Let us know. And thanks for watching. And don't forget, the merchandise is available, and we will be back again. Looking forward to an episode that all 4 of us can be on. We can have Jex on here too. He didn't have time to ingest the album, but again, the year end's coming up. So there you go. From Will, Matt, and myself, thanks everyone for watching Tim's Vinyl Confessions. We'll talk to you later.